We would now be moving on to our second technical session. The topic for the second technical session is skill development and workforce management to balance quality and quantity in healthcare. The session chairs for this session would be Mr. Sanjay Patnaik, sir, convener, HR and IR Committee, ICC Odisha State Council, and Director, Spark Sports Private Limited. Dr. Subodh Kumar Das, Chairman, IGKC Multi Speciality Hospital. The speaker for this particular session would be Commander Navneet Bali Sir, Senior Vice President and Group Head, Narayan Health, Treasurer, AHPI National. I open the session to the Dice dignitaries and hope for a very successful session ahead.
Good afternoon. It was really enlightening listening to such eminent specialists, experts in the field to understand that the violence, which that is one of the aspect which is happening, but most unaddressed. But this is something important, and I am not from the field. I have been asked to be in this season. While I am not in the field, but I understand, the leadership development, the skills, and the workforce management. And that is where I just want to bring a contrast and try to invite my eminent experts in the field to give their views, their opinions, and elaborate on that. See, I am from the manufacturing industry, and when we talk about manufacturing, we talk about three key elements which actually moves the economy, and that starts from saw. Saw means sasya is one, silpa is another, and swastha is the third. Health, agriculture, and industry. But if health is not there, industry and the other things has got no meaning of it. So health is actually paramount. So when we talk about manufacturing, we talk about three very important things: man, machine, and money. But here, man is actually the machine. The machine is actually the man, and the man is the specialist. When we talk about industry, the machine has to produce, the man needs to take care of, and therefore the money comes, the revenue. So what we have actually been doing it in the manufacturing is that we build capacity in the man so that they get trained and then they take care of the machine. So if I make the same understanding and bring it to the hospital, and I was listening to the eminent speakers, Priyadarshi sir and others. How are we going to build skill in the people who are in the healthcare sector? Is the curriculum really taking care of building those aspects which we are talking about? If we talk about skill, we surely talk about a word called competency, and the competency is skill, behavior, knowledge. And skill and knowledge, while it is technical in nature, but behavior, I could link it to the value system of the hospital itself. When we go to the hospitals, we see in big words, it is written in the wall that what are the value systems. Should we actually walk the talks right at the bottommost level to the top level? That is something which I would request my eminent specialist to put a light onto. So when we talk about building skill, we talk about the technical skill of it, which comes through research and development and various other things. But I would surely, or the August gathering would surely like to understand that how we are inculcating a desired skill, which is leadership skills, which is behavioral skill, which is communication skill, because communication is one of the paramount to abort the disturbances or the problems which is occurring. How are we going to do that? But if I look at my experience on the other side of the table, And while I visit various hospitals as a patient, a companion or something like that, I feel the hospitals are completely overwhelmed with the patients. While I am bring a contrast with the manufacturing, we have got three things. I just want to digress a bit and bring back to the track is that when we talk about machine as the man in manufacturing, we do three things. One is routine maintenance, preventive maintenance, and predictive maintenance. Similarly, routine maintenance is a logbook which actually prompts the maintenance to be done as per the schedule for a particular machine. Preventive maintenance is something we foresee that there are certain things which has to be done periodically and we do it regularly. Predictive maintenance is to understand the age of the machine and take care of that. How are we going to talk about this thing or relate it to the hospital sector where we are talking about the number of footfalls, but should we talk about that? Should we talk about the man who is visiting a hospital should again come back to the same hospital besides the routine checkups or the preventive checkups or the predictive checkups? Is our hospital care should be reactive or more proactive? Around these questions or around these paradigms, I would like to create a context and then to listen to our eminent experts. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. And at the outset, I would like to thank ICC, especially my hosts, and also AHPI. I would also take this opportunity to thank especially Nilanjana and her complete team from Kalinga Hospital and everyone else who was involved in organizing this very, very interesting conference for having invited me. This is not a very romantic or a very interesting topic, but I will still try to make it interesting for all of you. I think I'll take you around the forest and then bring you back into the village where I think we can come to some conclusions, some insights which will benefit every one of us here. So let's look at the Indian healthcare scenario today. This will be very interesting to all of you. We are 140 crore people, I think the largest in the world today. Out of the 140 crore people, around 80 crore of us are not covered by any insurance or do not belong to any panel. What it means is when we go to a hospital, we end up spending a large amount of money from our pocket. And you'll be amazed to hear that our out-of-pocket expenditure in India is close to 50% against 18% world average. That means when we go to a hospital, despite the fact that whatever we do, we end up spending 50 rupees out of 100 rupees from out of our pocket. And disastrous or healthcare spending, it's one of the highest in the world. Let's look at another statistics. India today has 7 lakh beds in the country. As per the Niti Aayog report, we need 30% more beds, which means another 3 lakh beds. So that's 10 lakh beds in India. Let's just take an assumption that every one of these 10 lakh beds is occupied today, and we have around 50% cash paying patients in these 10 lakh beds. I will just take an average revenue per occupied bed of 25,000 rupees. What it means is we Indians spend whopping 120 crores every day from our pocket for our healthcare. Now, what is our aim? I belong to an organization called Narayana Health, which was founded by Dr. Devi Shetty, who thought that healthcare should be democratized. So what do you mean by democratization of healthcare? By democratizing healthcare, we mean that the economic status of an individual does not determine the access or the quality of healthcare he or she gets, and also the accessibility does not determine it. So if that is the aim, how do we democratize healthcare? So healthcare would be democratized by access, by government schemes, by technology. But I think a very, very important and ever-encompassing idea is to bring the healthcare standards of the population up. Because we are too many of us to be, all of us to be rushing to hospitals. Also, one very, very important factor would be to bring the skilled manpower. And the skilled manpower means doctors, nurses, technicians, paramedics, etc. To fill the gap that we have today between these 7 lakh beds that we have, which itself are not adequately manned, the 10 lakh beds that we require. If I were to ask you all that which according to you is the largest generator of employment, which sector in the world, I don't think I'll get the right answer. But just to make it very simple, food and agriculture is a $12.5 trillion ecosystem in the world. And you'll be surprised to know that healthcare comes next at US $10 trillion. And despite that we thinking that IT, oil and natural gas, automobiles, but they come much, much lower. And what is the opportunity in front of us today, both nationally and globally? There's a huge shortage of technical manpower across the world. So when in the morning Dr. Girdhar Gyani spoke about being the Vishwa Guru in healthcare, please remember that our own problems of looking at becoming a developed nations are not going to be solved if we internalize these problems. These problems are going to be solved if we go out to the world. What it essentially means is this, and in the next 25 years or 30 years, is India's opportunity to become not only the Vishwa Guru in healthcare inside, but also to be the largest supplier of technical manpower to the world. Just to give you a small example, as on date, just Germany, France, and Britain combined together require more than 100,000 nurses. And if we had the capacity and the opportunity or the capability of developing them today, we could supply to all these nations. What will it essentially also means is, of course, we will have to look inside that. First of all, we can't be landing up in a situation where our own hospitals, healthcare institutions run short of this technical manpower. But how do countries prosper? Countries don't prosper when they look inside. Countries prosper when they look outside. So having done a lot of homework, having done a lot of deliberations of how our own healthcare institutions will be manned, and you have this huge amount of doctors, nurses, paramedics, technicians produced and manning our institutions, can we do something so that we are global suppliers of technical healthcare manpower to the world? There's a huge demand supply ratio gap today which exists both in the country and outside. Nursing is such an interesting opportunity, and I'll tell you why. Most of the nurses that man the hospitals, most are women. And what's the difference between providing an opportunity to a woman in a family and a man? You know, when a man gets an employment, let's say he or she he earns 10,000 rupees, he would spend around half the money on himself. I'm sorry, there's so many men in the hall today, but maybe use half that money to the family. But when you empower women, when we develop their skills, when you give them an opportunity, when you give them institutions where they can become, let's say, a nurse, the 10,000 rupees that they earn goes back into the family, which empowers the family, which empowers the society, which empowers the nation. Just to give you an example today, and I told you I'll make it a little interesting. Narayana Health runs a hospital in Cayman Islands. And when we started this hospital way back in 2016, Dr. Shetty went to the government there and told them that I can't start this hospital unless you allow me to get doctors and nurses from India. Because if I'm going to pay doctors and nurses at the US rates, I won't be able to make this hospital successful. So, to cut the long story short, we got that permission. And a nurse from a small village in Kerala or Himachal or Northeast, which goes to Cayman Island, earns close to 1.5 to 2 lakh rupees in dollars, which is tax-free, where she sends that entire money almost back home. So imagine the amount of prosperity. Imagine the amount of remittances this can result for India, which as we move towards becoming economic power of the world, this can really, really helpful. And healthcare is one of those sectors where the opportunity for India is immense. And why I say that, we've always and almost proven ourselves in IT sector today. There is no doubt. We've proven ourselves to be the top CEOs across the world. Most of the big companies have us. But healthcare is a great opportunity because, there was a Harvard study done in US which came to a conclusion that the US patients which were treated by Indian doctors and nurses had a better longevity and they got well sooner than those who were treated by the local doctors. As you're aware, the NHS scheme in UK is driven by Indian doctors and from the subcontinent. So if you're able to today look at institutions using some levers like institutionalizing, establishing skill development schools, councils, using modern technology like digital platforms to empower and give education and skills to people, I think here is really what the opportunity lies for the country. And why I say in next 20-25 years, because that's where our population starts getting inverted into more aged. Right now, India is blessed with young people who are raring to go and who are raring to do something in the world. I will in the end come to some of those very interesting spaces where opportunities will come in the future and how things will change. Please remember, healthcare right now is undergoing a paradigm shift from analogous to digital. We will have great opportunities in digital healthcare space. We will have to get ready in our healthcare institutions, medical colleges, in institutions which give postgraduate diploma to young students. Because that is what we are seeing is transforming healthcare across the world. In the end, I want to talk about Odisha. We are standing here today in Bhubaneswar, such a beautiful town, and we spoke about that amazing healthcare schemes that are being run in this state. And I think hats off to them because I have seen a lot of these healthcare schemes across the states. Why Odisha? And I'll come back to my initial deliberation of supplying healthcare personnel across the world. I think I have found people in Odisha to be extremely gentle, with a natural affinity towards compassion. And I think these are the qualities, truly, if you ask me, make outstanding healthcare workers. If we were to look at the opportunity today, especially for the women here, and build such institutions which empower them, which skill them, which train them, here is the opportunity for us right now, for women, for the girls of Odisha to take up these challenges and go and man one of the finest institutions both in India and abroad. I think this opportunity right now has to be capitalized, whether we go for government institutions, public-private partnership, private institutions. We are just looking at the tip of the iceberg. And I personally feel, having interacted with many, many very, very good friends in the Indian Navy when I was there, 24 years, and looking at the mental framework of all those people from Odisha that I interacted, I think that is one quality which will set people from this state apart. And that is really the softer part of the opportunity that we have. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Just wanted to give you an insight of what the future looks like and how tremendous opportunity right now stares us at our face. And if we were to become successful in becoming not only providing healthcare solution inside our country, because our healthcare treatments are quite cheap compared to the world and much, much better, I think we'll have to start looking outside as we look inside so that we become the global suppliers of skilled manpower to the world. Thank you so much.
And thank you once again for his words of appreciation to the people of Odisha. And it was so beautiful of you, sir. Now I think we'll open the session for questions.
I think I'm on this part of this, but then I have certain question because one is you are from the fraternity itself, and Commander Bali is of course in the hospital, and he understands the whole gamut of the spectrum. But one thing we would be inquisitive to know about, because we are not on the health care sector, but then we as a consumer or as a client, we would like to know two things. One is that when we talk about manufacturing, we talk about how we can make people future ready. So in the hospital, in the healthcare sector, when you have been imparting education, an MBBS program or beyond, how are you making them future ready besides just giving them the orientation or internship in the hospital? How do they come to know the other aspects of the behavior of their clients or their patients going to be? What is that kind of framework which has been developed? Second is, we have been seeing the other side of the table, but then what is the kind of, this particular season is focused on the workforce management. And when we talk about workforce management, we talk about what is the kind of performance framework which has been developed for the nursing, for the paramedics, for the doctors and the specialists, and how do they grow in their career to have the kind of recognition and to get that recognition, and then they grow in their career. What is the career steps or career progression processes? Those are something as an expert and as an entrepreneur going to step into this health care sector, would like to would be interested to understand that.
To be very frank, in the MBBS curriculum, which is a basic degree for all doctors here, we do not have a course which actually teaches the students about how to run a hospital or even a small setup or a big hospital, because the whole 5.5 years we just spend learning how to treat our patients. So it's a very pertinent point, but this is not the right forum where we can bring up this issue. But yes, how to handle such issues, like how to encourage your manpower, how to retain your manpower, how to maintain a balance between the quality and quantity of your important staff. All those things, they are an important part. Obviously, after MBBS, we have health administration courses and all where you are taught. But if somehow it can be incorporated during your basic course, it will be definitely one better development, and the healthcare sector will definitely benefit from such kind of training. So I'm more of a doctor than an entrepreneur, because I've been practicing for 20 years, and it's not easy to retain your manpower. And Narana Health has established itself to be one of the leading healthcare sectors. And I have seen over the period of almost 20 years in Bhubaneswar, because when I joined here, there was only one corporate hospital. Now, over the years, they have multiple good corporate hospitals, and Odisha has become almost a destination for many of the peripheral states. And I really am thankful to the administrators of those hospitals who have somehow managed to retain their manpower. How they managed to maintain a balance between quality and quantity, and how they have excelled It's really good, but yes, if the doctors can be trained during their MBBS curriculum, at least to some extent, how to retain the manpower, how to train them, how to identify them, and how to, you cannot always satisfy, at least how to keep them happy and creating a sense of belongingness in them towards whatever sector they are working, then that will be definitely a good part of the curriculum. I would hand over to Navneet sir for his comments.
Today, I'm sure in next 5 years' time, you will see this great shift happening where I think I predict that legally it will become mandatory for doctors to have an opinion from a AI machine or from an AI algorithm to see whether, because there are huge number of studies which go around, there is immense data which is available in the ecosystem, and the human brain cannot sift through that entire data and to give a, so although the doctor's own decision would ultimately override anything that AI would present it to them, but there'll be many things which doctors themselves would not want to do. Many times I compare medicine, especially the surgical, with a pilot in an aircraft. And as you're aware, when you sit in an aircraft, almost 90% of things are now being done by autopilot or automatically through algorithms, through softwares, and the pilots only come in when it is required. So similarly, and this has to start from the medical colleges initially, because when I see when we are today transforming into this analogous to digital, and we have doctors being told or requested to use EMR. I'm just giving a small example. When you have to use a computer and a patient is sitting in front of you, the doctors are not very happy about it because they feel that relationship with the patient, of looking into the patient's eyes, talking to the patient, asking about the problems, are being taken away into computers and laptops and tabs, etc., etc. But as you're aware, this is soon going to become mandatory, where doctors will have to use EMR per force, and every patient's data will go into them. So I think to the question, of what transformative things that we need in curriculums for doctors, nurses, etc., are going to be that these technological solutions have to be ingrained inside the syllabus today to the young doctors as they start their MBBS journey, so that when they come out, they do not sort of find themselves out of the water as far as these are concerned. The second important change that's going to happen is that, as we saw in Industrial Revolution, the mechanical looms vanished, the people who used to do it by hand vanished, power looms came. And this is another revolution right now which is happening in healthcare. You'll see many of the jobs, vanishing, because hospitals will almost become OPD less, because, patients will sit at their homes and do most of the things that they're coming to the hospitals for today. I mean, why should a patient come to see a doctor to just show his glucose or his glucose readings? Every one of those things are going to happen at home using wearables, using technology. And of course, it will be greatly beneficial when people don't have to anyway travel distances to go and see a doctor. So that shift is also happening. So again, the skill developments and the institutions have to realize that the change is almost upon us and we'll have to go. To your question of career progression, and I think there are very, very set norms in the government that I think is absolutely clear. Promotions and career progression in government are very, very clearly defined. In corporate sector, these are very loosely defined, but still they do exist. So you have across all bandwidths, whether it is, across all verticals, whether nursing, paramedic, doctors, there are very, very set guidelines which are followed. And, until unless you have someone exceptionally good and you have the ability to sort of, go out of the band. But yes, we will have to look at technology in a big way, and it will have to get incorporated in everything that we do in healthcare.
So we have another 9 minutes. We can take the questions from the audience.
I am Dr. Bishwajivan Sahu. I am a hospital administrator by profession, and I represent AIMS Bhubaneswar here. I am a professional hospital administrator, and I have been working in Odisha for quite a long time here. And Subodh sir and all, they know me, Nilanjana madam, I have worked for her. So I just wanted to highlight some of the points, like this panel was talking about healthcare manpower and this management and team building and this problem solving, this lack of systems in MBBS curriculum, lot of things can be bridged, and slowly a lot of people are coming and joining courses like Masters in Hospital Administration. Some are medicos like me, some are non-medicos like me, like others, and having this course and specialization. And the role of these hospital administrators is slowly realized in every hospital. And the big hospital chains must have realized that hospital administrators are really important, who actually bridge the gap of this managerial skills, where the doctor or the resident doctor or maybe a junior consultant doesn't have time. They bridge the gap of talking to patients, counseling, handling situations, logistics management, supply chain management, etc. Secondly, I just want to propose a solution that this AHPI and this ICC Healthcare Summit, they can move ahead with having management development program for doctors and other experts, or maybe other professionals like paramedics also, healthcare management programs or management development programs. And we can be a asset to you. I represent Department of Hospital Administration, names Bhubaneswar, as well as we have a regional chapter of hospital administrators here in Bhubaneswar, and who are dealing with educational programs. There is a course run by some IMS, some hospital, SOA University, where every session hundreds of hospital administrators are coming, and they are being absorbed in NHM as hospital managers. They can be helpful to bridge a lot of gap. And but however, one big challenge is that sir would agree that there is a salary challenge, because the pay structure of the hospital administrators sir is very poor in the state of Odisha. That is one big challenge, where retaining talent is big problem for many of the hospitals. And actually, such management development programs can actually help in financial gain to the institution, building reputation, and avoiding lot of conflicts or day-to-day problems, as we have been hearing since the morning. Lot of situations can be handled with professional hospital administrators. I just wanted to make a point. No other questions. Thank you. Nice presentation.
My name is Subrat Roy. I'm part of Professional Nursing Services. My question is to Mr. Navneet. Thanks for that. Before that, thanks for that very good statistics which you said about the size of the economy, and especially on healthcare sector. Even you spoke about how things are going to change for healthcare professionals. You gave a lot of thrust around nursing services, the way it is going to be, and the whole world is looking forward to India, wherein we can supply skilled manpower to the whole world. So in this regard, my question was, what are the countries where you are seeing the real demand is coming? Where do you see this is going to challenge the medical profession, or how it is going to span out over the next 10 to 20 years? These are two questions what I have. Thank you.
So I'll come to your second question first. I deliberately did not use the word challenge. And, many people if you look at history and you read history, when Industrial Revolution happened in England, a lot of people thought that a lot of jobs will be lost. People will be on the road because the machines would take away human jobs. But it never happens actually. And so history teaches us that when you have a technological advancement, jobs are never lost. AI is going to be a great tool. Today you have Chat GPT, you have X number of these things. It's on you whether you want to use it or you don't want to use it. Similarly, humans will always retain the finality of decision-making process. Like even when I spoke about aircraft where the pilots are sitting, the decisions lies with the captain of the aircraft. Even when we are going towards pilotless aircrafts, we have pilotless trains, but there is someone sitting somewhere controlling, actually speaking. It's not that it's just happening. Even when you have robotics coming in, there will be always humans which will have an upper say. So I would say that these immense technological advancements are going to be helpful to the doctors in a great way, where it gives the doctor sifting through millions and millions of data bytes that this is the right solution or this is the recommended solution. But I'm sure the doctor knows the best because he or she would know exactly what the patient needs, despite, so they can very well override it. So I would just say that it will be one additional tool available to the doctors to do this. What was your first question? Oh,
I was asking about the nurses you spoke about. You gave a lot of thrust
okay, which
to
countries? Yeah, yeah.
requirement.
Okay, yeah.
From where the requirement is going to come
Yes,
from.
yes. So the entire European continent, specifically Germany, France, Britain, and we have seen, as I said, required 100,000 critical care nurses. I know an organization which works out of Gurgaon, and they have, as on date, a demand of around 100,000 nurses to be sent to these countries. There's a demand in Australia, there's a demand in Canada, there's a demand almost across the world for nurses. And I think what is going to be very important is the organizations which will be able to train the nurses in India, having them pass the language tests, having them qualified the qualifying exams in these countries, without taking any money from the nurse, but taking the money to having to place these nurses in those colleges. The business model is also getting defined now. So it's not that you're going to take money from the nurse to tell, okay, you give me this amount of money, I will send it to England. That becomes body shopping. That's not what the solution is. The solution is going to be that I'm going to charge a hospital, say in France or in England or in Germany, to pay me to send a trained nurse, and I will not take a single paisa from that trained nurse. And that's the business model. So as I said, this demand is only beginning, and I'm sure that this demand is going to accelerate as you have more and more countries, looking at improving their healthcare systems. And this is a real demand today, what I spoke about. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for recognizing. Also, lastly, thanks a lot for recognizing the innate skill set of a ODI people. You said about Seva and, their orientation to do a better thing for service to someone. Thanks for recognizing that.
Yes, a very good afternoon to one and all. I am Dr. Manikesh Kilimshetty, and I am working as consultant dental and maxillofacial surgeon at Kalinga Hospitals. So my question is not towards the medical fraternity or the nursing fraternity. I belong to the fraternity called as Maxillofacial Surgeons of India. So we have a maxillofacial surgeon as the Chief Minister of the state of Tripura, Mr. Dr. Manik Saha. So still the maxillofacial surgeons have a little bit of lack of exposure in multidisciplinary activities in the hospitals. But still I am very much blessed that our Madam Nilanjana and MS Sir, PK Mishra Sir has given me an opportunity to prove myself under a corporate belt. But still maxillofacial surgeons are lacking behind. And what is your take, sirs, that where are we finding maxillofacial surgeons and dentistry in a multi-segmented facility?
Thank you for that question. My brother is an oral and maxillofacial surgeon from King George Medical College, so I can very well relate to what you are talking about. I don't want to make sweeping statements from a dais from the stage, but I can just tell you that over a period of time, mushrooming of a lot of dental colleges across the country with substandard education imparting to the especially the dentists have resulted in this branch going through a tough time today. As far as oral and maxillofacial surgeons are concerned, they compete with the plastic surgeons, they compete with the onco, the head and neck surgeons, and somehow to make their own niche into this one has become difficult, and for that I agree to what you're saying. I think the need would be towards hospitals and professionally run institutions to understand that oral and maxillofacial surgeons form a very, very important part of the healthcare ecosystem, specifically not only towards doing what they do, but also towards helping in reducing people reporting to hospitals in stage 3rd and 4th stage of head and neck, mouth cancers, which is one of the largest, cancers in India. So yes, this complete branch is undergoing a transformation. It is undergoing, as I would say, not the rough weather, but I think for all of you professionals, I can only say that you'll have to dig in your heels, do what you best do, make your mark in front of the patients, do something in which you are recognized specifically for your skills and talents, and let it be very clear that you do a very niche kind of work. Let me frankly tell you today, I was talking about skilled manpower being exported to the world. Dentists across the world earn the highest amount of salaries. Even I think if you look at the wage bill in US, the dentists are the highest paid doctors, in the world today. So I think the opportunities, both India and abroad, are immense for all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Is there any questions? Yeah, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Purnima from KIT University. I am a professor teaching in KIT School of Public Health. So not exactly a question. Since we have discussed about skill development and workforce, many good inputs were there. And we talk about any fraternity, not only medical, not only hospital administrator, not only paramedics. We are lacking somewhere in doing the competency assessment and bridging that gap. Even if you'll include all the required skills, what we have talked in the first session, leadership, communication, for every category of healthcare professionals. So once they are pass out, there is a need to upgrade their skills, right? There is always an advancement in each and every sphere. So what exactly as a stakeholder, what we are doing, how we have to bridge that gap, how we have to assess the competency of each and every cadre of healthcare professional. So I think that is some areas where we should look forward and try to pitch in to have some interventions so that there is always a upgraded skills, upgraded competency with each and every category of healthcare professionals to ensure the quality of healthcare services.
Yeah, this is a very, very relevant questions. Actually, I am not into the field, but then we talk about, how each of these level have certain competencies, and it has to be very meticulously planned, and then competency as a knowledge, skill, and attitude, needs to be mapped in each of these career steps as we grow up. That is something we will debate, and maybe we will take it to the HR forum to make more insight to that. Thank you all. Thank you for participating.